Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Pulfer. I'm a student at ATU, currently studying for contemporary software development, and this is the introduction to my project that I have submitted. So as an agenda, I would like to discuss today the project itself, so introducing it, provide a little bit background about the why I've chosen this project. Then we'll discuss the purpose, the aims and the objectives of the same project. As a next step, we will be looking into the design and methodology used to put together design requirement document. Then we'll discuss how the system was actually implemented, how it was written, coded. We'll discuss about the testing phase, what it contains, when the tests are performed. We'll have a bit of a conclusion and a quick demo to showcase the system itself. So it's a bit of a background. So a quick recap. I'm sure everyone knows this, but the help desk system. Um, uh, Initially, these were the physical desks you could see in, let's say, in the lobby entry of the buildings where you would go, or stores where you would go and tell them what your problem is, and they would help you. Obviously, for the digital era, everything has moved online. So today it's considered a system that provides help for computer systems, mostly anything that has to do with technology. So looking at the history of help desk, so when it became from physicalized to, let's say, online, the help desk wasn't really considered any sort of a strategic decision. Many of these support tools were created as an afterthought. They were seen as an expense to the business and therefore accordingly staffed or developed, and they were very limited to what the capabilities are. Even nowadays, unfortunately, you see a lot of this happening, that these are afterthoughts. Quite recently, I had several systems that I interacted with. I've seen they were slow in the response. By the time I got actually the response, like, well, it's no longer relevant to me. Um, I've had recent example and where I had an issue. I'm sure somebody else ran into that issue, but I couldn't find anything on the official website that would help me resolve it. It would then force me to go, let's say, in a search like Google and try to find the answer. At the same time, I've actually also quite recently interacted with a service that was actually under maintenance, but nobody knew about this. Apparently nobody knew about this. It took time to even get a response, and if there would be something that would indicate this, that would actually be quite helpful. So we so this is one of the reasons why I've decided to let's look at the help desk system. Let's look at the evolution and see if I can add additional value to modernize systems. So how does the evolution currently of help desk system looks like? Uh, as mentioned before, it was quite an afterthought. It was implemented at the end only when after established company. Nowadays, it's actually the perception is slowly shifting. Fortunately, not fast enough, but it's many companies are starting to look at help desk system as a strategic tool to influence the direction of the company and as well the direction of the, let's say, the product that they develop. And the reason for that is that help desk systems nowadays, there's a lot of analytics that can be used. For example, if there's repeated issues, that will help not only to actually fix the symptom, but it will tell you, okay, this happened 20 times in 1 hour. Maybe there is an underlying problem that we could fix. Or let's say many customers use the help desk system to give feedback about something that's not working as great as it could be. So this can be viewed as a improvement feature request. So that it's quite moved from a reactive to actually something more strategic. in the eyes of many companies, and that's quite positive. It allows companies to see and make decisions based on the data they receive from the end users, because who are the best people to provide you feedback are the people that actually use your service. Now, looking at the purpose of my project, so to speak. So my goal with this is to create a smarter help desk that would use a couple of steps. Let's say it would allow the user to make a search and see, let's say, existing knowledge base articles for the third-party provider that is currently in scope. And at the same time, there is something that I've always been looking forward but couldn't really find it, is a diagnostic report, which essentially at the time of the creation of the ticket, the system would go ahead, interact with third-party providers. Let's say it would access a couple of different endpoints or servers to see if the systems are healthy, and then puts together a report that both the user and end user can use. Because there is no point to, let's say, troubleshoot a login issue if the system is in maintenance, right? So at the time of the support ticket creation, it would tell you, hey, system is in maintenance. Yeah, they would mention that in the diagnostics report. As another example, let's say everything looks okay, but a certain functionality doesn't work. Like I cannot download an app on my phone. It could be that a respective component is down, and instead of going reactively look into this, the diagnostic report tells you right away, okay, this service is not healthy. Look into it. So look into this. So a couple of other objectives is to, okay, let's look, how can I measure the success of this? What data is relevant for the diagnostic report? What is considered noise? What is considered actually helpful information? At the same time as well, what technology should I use to query these endpoints? Now, design methodology, I've started with functional and non-functional requirements. So I started asking questions regarding user stories. What I started question, what would be helpful as an actor that is interacting with the system, or what would he want to see from it? And therefore, after capturing that, I started to look into, okay, diagrams. Let's put together what the steps are, what the user would interact with. At the same time, I started to look into what requirements for the smart diagnostics would I need to have for the third party in scope. Look into things like security, reliability, usability, and scalability. These are all mentioned in the report that I've already submitted. And at the same time as well, from the technical design point, okay, what do I need to put this together for functional product? And what questions do I need to ask myself to identify this? So here on the screen, you can see two diagrams. On the left side is the overall architecture of our application. So our application lives here in this cloud. So the idea is that you have a backend service that would interact directly with the database, and then you have a front end view that the agent and end users have access to. And that backend service would then talk with the third-party application to gather all the diagnostics data. The user would obviously interact with the front end. On the right side, you can see a flow of events. So I started asking my question, okay, how would the step-by-step look like from an end user perspective? What does he need to do? Obviously, he needs to log in. Is there a dashboard that's needed? How do you create a ticket, etc. So one of the design principles that I've taken into consideration is the system needs to be accessible anytime from anywhere and any device. So you can see on screen. So I've decided to go with a website because it's, if well put together, it is responsive to the screen. At the same time, I started to ask myself the question, okay, what are the pieces of the puzzle in terms of software that are required to put everything together. So a couple of these I've put here on the screen. So obviously website as an interface was one of the pieces. A Django framework, it's a enterprise ready framework for Python. It's quite used in the business world today. The current employer I am, they use a bit of Django as well. So I thought, okay, let's make this enterprise ready. UI toolkit Bootstrap is easy to use UI toolkit. It's modern looking. It is quite adequate for the scope of this project. As well, we've asked the question regarding the database. Okay, how does the database look like? Do we know what kind of data we're gonna store? Is it predictable? The answer was yes, so I chose a relational SQL database. A couple of other technologies, like for example, Selenium WebDriver is a system that the backend performs essentially a browsing request to the third-party website to gather all the knowledge base articles. And the last piece was thinking into a modular system design that allows then in the future expand more plugins. Let's say if you want to use a different service to integrate into the help desk. So once I have identified all the pieces together, I've started looking into, okay, how do I manage this? How do I make sure that all the user stories are implemented, all the features are looked at, that in the end that there would be a successful delivery of the project. So for this I've chosen GitHub. Integrates nicely with GitHub Actions and as well the code repository. I will go a bit more further in other slides about this, but essentially it's a nice integration. It's adequate for this project. And as you can see on the right side, there is a screenshot during the development of a couple of user stories that are finished, features, etc. Now in the testing phase, there was two testing phases. One is during the development of the project, and one is more step-by-step instructed, step-by-step more at the end. On the screen you can see I've essentially put them in two categories: instructed step-by-step. These are mostly functionalities on the website itself that you interact with, and as well to test the user stories to see if I was successful or not in the implementation. On the right side, you can see the automated tests. These were utilized for not only at the end of development to validate, but as well during the development. So these are tests that you manually write yourself and that test the system code, test things like if the values in the form that you've introduced are correct, if the database values are correct, essentially to avoid future complications of bugs and issues that might not be very apparent when you test step by step. On the diagram at the bottom, you can see how the pipeline that I've designed for it. So essentially, as myself as a developer, I would work on individual features. I would then work on a clean slate testing bench the feature. Once it's completed, I would submit that feature to the staging, all the code changes. And once it goes into staging, the GitHub Actions will then perform a set of automated steps that I have defined. So it would build the software, it would check the dependencies, so to make sure that everything that is required to actually run the program is accessible, downloads it, makes them ready, and then it will perform the automated tests that I've defined earlier. So, and these include, for example, the diagnostics report. Are all the endpoints available that we want to get in the diagnostic report? Because you never know, the third-party vendor might change these in the future. So that means if these tests fail, it's a good indication that you might need to change something in your plugin or app to accommodate these changes. As a conclusion, there is obviously some limitations, or I don't like the word limitation, I like opportunities that can be explored for future releases. One of them it's quite apparent for me at least, is the UI side. HTML tables are difficult to deal with on a mobile phone. So there is a bit of opportunity there to make it look more nicer for the end user, as well as we scope the application for one third party for a service. So there is a limitation there that, for example, if you want to integrate a different service, let's say Microsoft, then there is coding necessary to code a plugin and then have it added to the project. Now, obviously, this has been taken in account. So there's a code separation between the help desk system and the diagnostics and third party. As a result, was quite successful in the testing. So majority of the user stories have been achieved. There was one that wasn't achieved, but this was intentionally left out in the MVP model and was scheduled for the next iteration. And I got quite positive feedback during my testing, specifically around the interfacing. The application was quite intuitive and easy. Now that we went through the presentation, let's have a look at the application itself. All right. So on the left side, let's log out of the system. So you can see here the portal. Let's say you have a mobile phone. This is how it would show up on your mobile phone. So as you can see, the UI is quite responsive. So these buttons are working. And when you expand, the nice menu is on the left side. So as a user would log in. So my name is Patrick. The system expects that the user already exists. This is due to, in the corporate world, you would have already an account and you would integrate this with a single sign service. Now, once you log in, you have the ability to create, describe your issue. For example, let's say I'm unable to log in into the console. So what you would do is, okay, describe your issue, click and go. And what the system now does is does a couple of queries to the third-party service and provides you with a couple of knowledge base articles you could find around this. So let's see. Okay, the first one is quite relevant for me. Invalid login error when logging into the console. If you click on it, it brings you to the actual vendor page where this particular knowledge base article is being discussed. At the same time, let's say this didn't help me, none of these are useful. You can click on I still need help. So this is, let's put it big. It's quite responsive. Let's say I'm still unable to log in. Nothing works. Description. Up. This is a description, and you can put the actual priority. Let's say for this is urgent. So when you create a ticket, let me show you what is happening in the background. These are what you can see here highlighted on the screen. These are the actual endpoints that is currently querying. So it will first take your email domain in consideration and looks for your environment. That's the first query it does. Okay, where is your environment actually? Which is the specific number? And then it starts to query components of that. You can see console, devices, app catalog, AWCM. These are different components that are comprises applications on different servers. As well is on the service status. Is there currently a known maintenance or downtime on the service status? So it will take this, it will perform a couple of queries, and based on that, you will see this screen. On the left side, you can see obviously all the relevant details for your ticket. So when it was created, what the current status is, priority. It shows you here nice as a conversation view, and I can show you this moving on. But here the interesting part here is on the left side. So at the time of the creation of this ticket, console all these services, they were positive. so it actually were operational. This is service status is actually coming directly from the vendor. This if there is anything wrong, and I can show you on another ticket, there will be a small summary telling you what is wrong. Then also you have links as well to the actual status page of the vendor. And let's close this tab as well. And you have the ability to add further comments and action. Let's say still happening, action updated, submit. Now on the left side, you see the link for diagnostic. So I clicked on it. You see here all the tickets that you have currently open. You can also see the closed ones, so they have the ability to reopen them. Let's have a look. For example, the app catalog is down. Now you can see the agent is called admin in this case. He provided a couple of updates. As you can see, when there is any conversation added, it kind of looks like a conversation view. On you have relevant information like the date, what is the message, and what was the action. So this was just ticket updates. On the left side, you can actually see the diagnostic report in action. I actually got quite lucky that during the time I was performing one of my tests, there was an actual live maintenance happening. So the service reported to me there is all the components are working, but there was a maintenance. So that would indicate that you have issues with the actual application itself. At the same time, there's an administration view. This is role based, so as an end user here, Patrick doesn't have the access to it, but here the admin does. So if you go to this website, I'm now logged in as the admin. If I go to administration, it will bring me to this page. Now here I can see all, on the left side, this requires obviously training of the staff, but you can see all the tickets, what was written, the status, priority. I can see the history of those tickets, so what are the conversations around it. At the same time, and this is interesting, let's say app catalog is down. If you click in here, you can see the actual diagnostic report. So it provides you the URL that we have initially queried with your email address. So it provides you the actual environment. It provides you as well the enrollment group, which is something specific to application itself. The AWCM status, if there is something wrong, it will tell you here what the problem was, the URL itself, what the status are, and these are actually from the third-party vendor. It sent me back at the time that created the ticket. Maintenance, service under maintenance. So, and as an admin, as an agent, you have capabilities to manage all this. You can change the agent to someone different. You can change the status priority. You can submit message through here, or you can submit on the back in the nice interface as well. The agent itself, based on your role, you have access to every ticket, not on every ticket that exists in the system. As Patrick, I only have mine, so there is this aspect, which is quite handy. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please let me know.